times Pokemon predicted the future. From predicting 3 presidents of the USA to even predicting... These are the times Pokemon predicted the future. And I gotta start with the time Pokemon predicted that George Bush would be the US president in 2000. Now, I may be reaching with this one, but hear me out. In 1996, we first got introduced to Tangela, this Pokemon that has its body wrapped in vines, kinda like a bush. Well, guess who became president in 2000? This next prediction isn't a reach, because Pokemon predicted that you'll survive the COVID-19 pandemic. In the 70th episode of the Pokemon Journey series, James reads a newspaper that has a hidden message to you on the top corner of the right page. Some of the text is either cut off or too small to read or translate, but thank goodness you have me to translate it. You see, this writing translates to "Don't lose to the coronavirus." And who didn't lose to the virus? That's right, you! Matter of fact, this subtle message of hope came when Japan needed it most. It was June 2021, the peak of Japan's COVID-19 wave, with the country registering under 800,000 cases nationwide. Regardless, the country survived. Just like the second season of the anime predicted, that battling formats wouldn't change in the games. That's right, the anime made use of battling formats and structures that weren't just the regular 2 single trainers facing off in one-on-one Pokemon single battles. The double battles, triple battles, and even horde battles were unofficial things back in the Kanto until Orange Islands introduced them as an official battling style in 1999. You see, in the 108th episode, Pokemon Double Trouble, Luana of the Kumquat Gym had Ash face her in a double Pokemon battle. They didn't call it a double battle at first. They constantly called it a double Pokemon battle because no one was familiar with it. Fast forward to Generation 3 of the games. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, released in 2002, and the double battling format was introduced. Coincidence? I think not. Speaking of games, did you know Pokemon used a game to predict the rise of smartphones? That's right, they did that quite accurately in 1999 with the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver. In the game, there's an item called the PokeGear, which doesn't look exactly like your smartphone does, but it does have very similar functions. This PokeGear has a phone feature that allows users to make calls to and receive calls from people whose phone numbers they have been registered with. It also has other features like maps and radios, but what really sets it apart is its setup of different apps. Just take a look at this. No phone had a setup like this, not until later on. And that's not all a device from the game predicted. Before I tell you what device, let me tell you how the anime predicted a big change in the games. This changing question is related to how the games handle League and Badge Quest. You see, before the anime made Badge Quest and League challenges a big, personal, individual trainer affair, with really only the player character and maybe their rival seemingly participating. The anime made the League challenge a whole sporting event, with the Badge Quest becoming the means of entry into an annual League tournament that takes place in giant, sold-out arenas, while being televised all over the world. In doing so, they expanded the scale and scope of what it means to travel around a region, collecting its badges and being a competitive Pokemon trainer. Who knew the games would follow suit? Because the games went from having their League challenges be a personal, back-to-back fight against 4 unknown dudes and the previous champion, to a fully fleshed-out social media and cultural sporting affair. Now for that other device the game predicted. I give you the Poketech. This device predicted the rise of smartwatches. This watch got introduced in Generation 4 in the games, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which is several years before the surge in popularity of smartwatches. And just like smartwatches, the Poketech's functionality comes from the apps that are installed in it, as well as a touchscreen interface. But you know what wasn't an imitation? Pokemon predicting Skype, FaceTime, and even Zoom meetings way before they became mainstream. Take a look at the second episode in which Ash talks face-to-face with Professor Oak and then Delia on a large screen. This technology you see is now a standard feature on smartphones, PCs, and even a daily part of my life now. Give me a sec. I need to hop on FaceTime with Ash right quick. While I'm doing that, do me a favor and click that subscribe button, will ya? Hello, Ash? Hello, PokeVille? Yeah, I don't think your friends want to subscribe to me. Have you told them about the time Pokemon predicted? In 16 years before the game, Pokemon Sun and Moon was released. Pokemon predicted it with a song. As it turns out, the theme song, OK, that was released in 2000, has a part where the lyrics say Golden Sun and Silver Moon. Notice how these lyrics have sun and moon in it? Fast forward to 2016 and Game Freak made a game called Pokemon Sun and Moon. Either this song predicted that would happen, or the song was just referencing Ho-Oh. Either way, it's a lovely prediction. But even lovelier would be the time Pokemon predicted a new Pokemon 15 years from the past. In Pokemon Red and Blue, a picnicker on Route 10 expresses a wish for a pink Pokemon with a floral pattern. Nearly 15 years later, Pokemon Black and White introduced Muna, fulfilling this desire expressed in the earlier games. But the greatest prediction of all was when Pokemon predicted how the anime would end, as well as the next 3 series. In the 45th episode of the Black and White series, the final sequence of the dream in the episode plot predicts major events that later unfold. In the dream, there is an ultra-strong Pokemon which predicts the Mega Evolution that gets introduced in the Kalos series, the series that literally came after the Black and White series. In the dream, there is also an alien Pokemon which very much predicts the Ultra Beast in the Alola series. There was also a giant Pokemon in the dream, which was a prediction of the Gigantamax Pokemon that came up later in the Galar region. Deep this, there are 8 moons total before the dream ends, and 8 official regions before the end of the series. Coincidence? I think not. Because even when the dream ends in the episode, Ash defeats the condescending villain, which isn't Team Rocket, but a crook. The Meowth cuts up the contract offered by the crook, looking old and stating that he was tired of getting beat up. This straight up predicted how the anime would end once Ash won the championship and the old plot lines, including Team Rocket's, would end. The anime would end when Ash's dream to be the greatest Pokemon trainer in the world. But before Ash fulfilled his dream, he almost died so many times. Matter of fact, he's even died 6 times. From freezing to death in outer space to drowning to his death, these are all 6 times Ash Ketchum has died in Pokemon. And if you stick until the end, you will really be mind blown by a crazy theory. But first, let's start with the most painful death of them all. See, this death was so painful, I cry myself to sleep every night thinking of it. This is Victini, and Ash died saving this Pokemon. In the Victini movies, Ash developed such a strong bond with Victini, so when it came down to Ash saving himself or Victini, guess who Ash chose? Himself! No, I'm just kidding. He chose Victini, but that's what makes this death so touching. In the movie, this guy Damon trapped Victini to steal its powers, all as a part of his plan to uproot this castle from this position and return it to its rightful position, which is way over here. But this just led to a whole lot of chaos that set the castle on course for outer space, with only Ash, Pikachu, and Victini on board. Ash tried to escape with Victini, but these giant pillars of protection were not having that. They locked Ash in as the castle drifted into the very chilly atmosphere of outer space where Ash couldn't breathe. Man, this place was so cold. Ash froze to death in 3 seconds. The part that really broke my heart was when Ash was apologizing for not keeping his promise to Victini. I bet Victini thought to itself, "You're not dying on me, Ash," because the heat from its searing shot revived Ash instantly. Dang, that was so close. Pokemon Show really knows to be intense sometimes. This death is far from the first time Ash died. Let me take you back to that time Ash got crushed to death by this. See, all Ash wanted was to get a ghost-type Pokemon so he could defeat this mean girl. So he ventured ventured to the Tower of Terror in Lavender Town with his gang. At the tower was a Haunter, Gengar, and Ghastly, and all they did was mess with poor Ash and his gang. The pranks the ghost Pokemon played was hella creepy, and it scared Brock and Misty so much that they ran away from the tower. But only Ash went back in because his victory against this girl was more important to him than his own life. In the tower with his Pikachu, Haunter haunted Ash and Pikachu. Then Gengar came along and smacked Ash with a paper fan. And after that, the Pokemon made jokes to entertain Ash. That's kind of funny if you ask me. But Ash did not find it funny, and it broke the ghost Pokemon's hearts. Just as they were about to sink into the ground, Ash and Pikachu launched after them to catch the sad Pokemon, but they were too late. They crashed to the ground, causing the walls and ceiling of the Raggedy Castle to crack open for the chandelier above them to fall and crush them. What really killed Ash was the electric shock that came after the chandelier had already fallen, which just makes this death quite mind-boggling. Let me explain. So, Ash can get shocked by Pikachu 1,000,000 times and survive, but an electric shock is where he draws the line? Or Pikachu, an electric-type Pokemon that is capable of generating 1,000,000,000,000 volts, can get shocked to death? Something's not right here. Getting crushed by a chandelier is definitely a rocky way to die, but not as rocky as getting turned into a stone. The second time my man's Ash died, he got that Medusa treatment. It all went down in the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. And by went down, I mean chaos went down. This movie was just so chaotic. The better part of it was a whole night of Pokemon fighting with their clone, all because of Mewtwo. Ash kinda already had a death wish in this movie, because before the whole battle started, he punched Mewtwo with his bare fist twice. But it wasn't until the last stand between Mew and Mewtwo, Ash finally cashed in on his death wish. He heroically ran into the two legendary Pokemon's blast and died. This scene turned on the waterworks. Not only my waterworks, but also the waterworks of the Pokemon that witnessed his death. Pikachu tried his best to revive Ash by using electricity, but it just made all the Pokemon in the area cry even more. If only tears could bring back the dead, am I right? All the Pokemon cried so much that their tears brought Ash back from the dead. That is outrageous. Know what? I will turn into stone in 5 seconds and Pokemon tears cannot save me. But do you know what can save me? You smashing that, subscribe button. Thanks. I feel better now. At least I wasn't getting eaten by this blog thingy like Jesse, James, Max, Brock, May, and Kid were in the movie Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. But this isn't about them. This is about Ash. All Ash ever wanted was to protect this tree from the beginning. But what did he get in return? He got consumed by its white blood cells. That's right. These shiny crystals are orange blob thingies in disguise, and they are the white blood cells the tree of beginning produces as antibodies to protect itself against parasites. And it took every human that it saw as a threat. Even Ash. These blobs ate, and the humans left no crumbs. Only traumatized, trainerless, heartbroken pocket monsters. If not for Mew, everyone that got eaten by this blob would have remained erased from existence, and we would never see Ash ever again. See, Mew used its powers to neutralize the tree's defenses and bring all the humans back to life. The part of this death that made me cry was when Ash told Pikachu, "I love you," and left Pikachu crying. Come on, Pikachu. You know the writers won't do you like that, even though they did you real dirty in the I Choose You movie. This next death is the most heartbreaking death because it even traumatized Pikachu up to the point that it spoke words that were not Pika Pika Pee. This movie played out the same way the very first episode of the series played out, and then the story developed into a quest to seek out the legendary Ho-Oh. In his quest, Ash raised an abandoned Charmander from Caterpie to Butterfree and then released it to follow its heart. But when Ash got so close to his goal, he got sabotaged by Cross, Charmander's former trainer. Cross's carelessness and cold heart then caused Marshadow, a mythical Pokemon with concentrated black Air Force energy, to emerge. Marshadow wasn't even ready to hear any explanations. He just started blasting and confessing every Pokemon it could destroy to Ash. This scene before his death gave me goosebumps, the good kind of goosebumps. Ash put his cap back, struck a pose, and said,
"Now you look! I don't think you know who you're dealing with. I'm Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town, and I'm gonna be the world's greatest Pokemon master! Mess with me and you're gonna lose!
And the confessed Pokemon were like, alright, bet, and blasted him to smithereens. The force from this blast was so strong, Ash heard Pikachu talk. That first blast wasn't enough, so the Pokemon blasted Ash again, but this time they sent both his body and his soul into the afterlife. This just made Pikachu very angry and despaired, so he yelled and emitted a colossal thunderbolt attack, sending Marshadow and its army flying, releasing them from Marshadow's confession. Pikachu's cry was so loud, Ash heard it from the afterlife, so he started running, and Pikachu jumped through a special portal, courtesy of Ho-Oh, to save Ash from the underworld. Let's pause for a second and talk about the Pikachu talking scene. It really caught me off guard, but I believe the idea behind it was that Ash was hallucinating Pikachu speaking human language, whereas it was just saying Pika Pika Pee. Another explanation for that could be Ash was just visualizing what he believed Pikachu said, or the trauma was just too much for poor Pikachu. It had to learn human language. But you know what really baffles me about this death? The fact that after Ash got back from the land of the dead, he challenged Ho-Oh to a battle. That's just crazy, but not as crazy as the time he died of natural causes. In the movie, Pokemon Ranger in the Temple of the Sea, Ash and his squad got lost before they met this girl, Elizabeth, and her family, who were disguising as performers, but in reality were secretly protecting and transporting a Manaphy egg to a legendary sea temple with the help of the Pokemon Ranger Jackie. While they transported it, this greedy pirate, Phantom, stalked them mercilessly, all because he wanted to steal the priceless sea crown. You know how it goes. Ash and his gang get involved and save the day. Except this time, Ash died saving the day again. See, Samiya, the legendary sea temple in question, got unstable after Phantom's interference. So to save the temple, Ash and May had to collect its crystals and put them back where they belong. In an effort to return the last one, Ash had to swim way down below because for some reason the castle was sinking. Ash went for it the first time, but wasn't able to insert it where it belonged, and it slipped from his grasp. But that did not stop him. The second time, Ash heroically dived to retrieve the crystal from where it got stuck and return it. So he used up all of his air and energy trying to free the stuck crystal from the little nut. He successfully freed the crystal, but that was when he fell unconscious and started drowning while the crystal fell even deeper into the depths of the temple. Rest in peace, Ash. Psych. Please tell me you didn't believe the writers would kill off Ash without any plans to bring him back from the dead. See, Pokemon didn't need to cry, Pikachu didn't need to yell, nor did Victini need to use Searing Shot to revive Ash. All that was needed was for Manaphy to use telepathy. Manaphy placed one tentacle on May's head and another on the tank to somehow transmit May's thoughts through the tank and through the vast amounts of water between them to Ash, waking Ash up from the dead and prompting him to swim to the surface and get a breath. Manaphy basically used Heart Swap to give Ash a lifeline and special powers. This can't be real. But then again, is Ash even real? There is this theory about Ash that I can't seem to shake off my mind. Do you remember the second death I covered in this video? The one where Ash and Pikachu died after they got crushed by a chandelier and got electrocuted to death? Yeah, that one. There's a theory that says Ash and Pikachu are still ghosts that are just living in their bodies. First of all, aren't we all? But then again, that theory low-key makes sense if you consider the number of times that Ash has died and come back to life, especially also considering the fact that this is the very first time he died in the Pokemon timeline, and it is the only death that is considered canon. If you think about it, it makes sense that Ash would just run into Mew and Mewtwo's attacks and Mewtwo strikes back and get turned into stone. Could it be because he knew he would survive no matter what? Anywho, the Pokemon movies have a thing for doing fake-out pseudo-deaths, but it really stings when a character in Pokemon dies and stays that way. But not for Ash. Never for Ash. I guess it's safe to say, legends never die.
Did you know that Professor Oak gave Pikachu to Ash on purpose?
Pikachu.
And the reason is not because he wanted to get with Ash's mom. Or did you know that Pikachu was supposed to look like this? Here are 31 Easter eggs you completely missed in Pokemon. First off, let me reveal something no one knew for 27 years. Did you know the day Pokemon was born is the same day Mewtwo was discovered? Junichi Masuda, one of the original developers of Pokemon, shared a photo of a Japanese studio and captioned it, "On the 5th of July, Pokemon was born." A data log from an old Pokemon game confirms that on the 5th of July, a new Pokemon was discovered deep in the jungle, and that mysterious Pokemon was Mewtwo! Now, back to why Oak gave Ash Pikachu. I mean, it's nothing too serious, just that the world would be obliterated if Ash didn't get Pikachu. In the Pokemon movie Forever Celebi, a kid named Sammy encounters the time-traveling Pokemon Celebi, and while trying to save Celebi from a Pokemon hunter, Sammy gets transported to the future, where he encounters Ash and Pikachu. At the end of the movie, it is revealed that Sammy is Samuel Oak. So, in order to not break the timeline, Oak needed Ash and Pikachu to be together. If Ash had any other Pokemon, the timeline between Ash and Dr. Oak would break, and Pikachu would have never even existed. Imagine the Pokemon show or games without Pikachu. Jeez, now you know Pikachu was not late on that day. He was right on time. If you think that was crazy, wait till you hear the remaining 28 Easter eggs you missed in Pokemon. Like the fact that if you add the number of episodes to the number of movies and divide them by the number of days in a year, you get 3 years and 4 months. And it has been confirmed that each episode happens in a single day. Do you understand now why Ash hasn't aged? We've been watching his 3-year adventure over a 26-year time period. That's crazy. But not as crazy as the theory that Nurse Joy is actually a Pokemon. Let me explain. First off, Nurse Joy has thousands of other Nurse Joys that look exactly like her, just like Pokemon. Slowly making sense? No? Okay, supposedly they are all blood-related, which of course we get to see in the episode Drifloon on the Wind, where there is a Nurse Joy family with Joy as their last name. The mother looks how most Nurse Joys look, and the 2 daughters, Marnie Joy and Paige Joy, look like younger Nurse Joys. Regardless of the Joy family, Nurse Joy is not a single entity. Rather, there are so many Joys who work as nurses across the various regions of the Pokemon world. Pokemon really took the saying, a joyful world personally. So, if there are a ton of exact replicas of Nurse Joy, and they are all the same like all Pokemon are, don't you think Nurse Joy is her own version of a Pokemon? Like a Jinx or a humanoid-looking Pokemon? Or an evolved Chansey? You see, all the nurses are Chanseys, so Nurse Joy is maybe not a nurse. This just sums up the theory that she is also a Pokemon and probably the final evolution of Chansey, because only Chanseys are trained at nursing schools. Or maybe I'm just tripping. But can you blame me? Pokemon is kinda trippy. I mean, the manga is not even the source material. Pokemon was a game first and foremost, but the game, the anime, and the manga are loosely related. However, the first Pokemon movie had a cameo in episode 68 of Pokemon Battle of the Badge. It is the first episode we get to see the big bad Mewtwo. In the episode, Giovanni leaves with Mewtwo, so Jessie, James, and Meowth replace Giovanni to battle Ash for the Gym Badge. This trio is fantastic, but did you know Jessie and James aren't actually an official couple? In a BuzzFeed Japan interview with the Japanese voice actors for Team Rocket and Meowth, when asked if Jessie and James would ever be a couple, the actors agreed it could never happen. Talk about being friend-zoned. Anyway, remember how I said Pokemon is kinda trippy? Indeed it is, because in the manga, The Electric Tale of Pikachu, Jessie and James get married and even have kids together. Anything for the fans, am I right? I used to wonder who would keep Meowth if Jessie and James ever split up, until I found out Meowth is technically still a wild Pokemon. Nobody has ever caught him, and his association with Team Rocket is purely consensual. He's just hanging with them, not owned by them. He even considers himself to be their leader. Stay with me now, because this is about to get even trippier. Did you know the name of the Pokemon Ekans is Snake when you turn it upside down? And Pokemon Arbok is Cobra when reversed as well. Let's try that with Pikachu. Kip? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But do you know what does? The fact that the the name Pikachu is formed by blending two Japanese mimetic terms. Pika, representing the sound of an electric spark, and Chu, mimicking the sound made by a mouse. And Pikachu was originally intended to be a black and white mouse, but the producers thought they would sell more by coloring the Pokemon and making an anime out of it. I guess they were right by making that decision. Pikachu has been yellow ever since, and his name is not the only one with a hidden meaning behind it. Ash's last name, Ketchum, is a play on the words catch as in, gotta catch 'em all. I wonder how funny it would have been if it was Ash Ketchum, as in Ash gotta catch up with the Pokemon. I mean, seeing him cross-dress is funny enough, but each time Ash has cross-dressed, he was never willing to do so and was coerced or forced into it in some fashion. That is, until the trend was broken in the XY series when Ash did not cross-dress. But did you know the XY series is the shortest completed series of the anime, having only 140 episodes? Maybe it's because the letters X and Y are close to each other in the alphabet, or maybe they scrapped out all the times Ash would have cross-dressed. Did you also know, after the September 11th, 2001 disasters, an episode called A Scare in the Air was renamed Spirits in the Sky as a mark of respect for American fans? As if that wasn't enough empathy, another episode called Tentacool and Tentacruel were not allowed to air because its plot featured a creature that destroyed skyscrapers. While I was researching these Easter eggs for hours, I discovered one hidden in the very day the anime first aired. You see, the anime debuted on Tuesday, the 1st of April, 1997 on TV Tokyo. Do you know what else happened on that day? No? The comet Hale-Bopp passed perihelion and it developed into a spectacular sight. It shined brighter than any star in the sky, and its dust tail stretched 40 to 45 degrees across the sky. Damn, I wish I was alive back then to see that. But hey, stay with me now, because I finally connected the dots and discovered that Millennium Comet in the anime looks just like the Hale-Bopp. It is visible from the Pokemon world for only 7 nights, once every 1,000 years. Damn, that comet kinda looks like a wishing star. Quick, make a wish! Okay, I wish whoever is watching this video subscribes to my channel immediately and likes this video. You think it worked? I think so. I mean, why wouldn't it? Ash got what he wished for. That's right, a lore states that whoever gets Ho-Oh's rainbow feather is granted their desire. Ash desired for a long life full of adventure after the first episode, and that's exactly what he got. Similar to Ash, both Dawn and Serena have mothers named Joanna and Grace. These mothers live independently with their own Pokemon, and no information is provided about their fathers, drawing a parallel to Ash's mother, Delia Ketchum, and her husband, Mr. Mime. We have talked about how names are significant in Pokemon. Well, let's talk about Dawn and Zoe. They are known as Hikari and Nozomi in Japanese, named after 2 Shinkansen lines in Japan. The Nozomi train is faster than the Hikari, suggesting that Zoe might be more advanced in her coordinating skills compared to Dawn. Zoe was a good villain, but the first major rival of Ash's female traveling companion to have been based on an in-game character is Shauna. By the way, did you know Star Trek made its way into the anime? Twice! Pokemon uses a couple of sound effects from Star Trek The Next Generation. The Enterprise D door chime when Ash's Pokédex was updated for the GS Pokemon, and the Enterprise D transporter when an Electrode or Voltorb self-destructs. But that was not the only time when they made a Star Trek reference. The English title of the 38th episode of Season 12 is Where No Togepi Has Gone Before, and it alludes to the iconic opening narration used in both the original series and the next generation of Star Trek.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Did you also know the word Pokemon is derived from the Japanese words Poketo Monsuta, which is pocket monsters? And according to Pocket Monsters, Takeshi Shudo's novel, it is revealed that Misty's sisters are actually wearing wigs and that their natural hair color is black. In an early episode, Flint says that Brock's mother passed away, but in a later episode, Brock's mother is actually alive. That just makes Flint a liar. Unlike me, you know I'd never lie to you. Remember when I said that nothing could prepare you for this last Easter egg? There's no doubt that the Detective Pikachu movie appears more captivating than typical video game-based films. In the movie poster, one specific Easter egg stands out and amazes me. This Route 1 signpost. Whether it's Kanto or Alola, every new Pokemon journey has to start somewhere, and this is usually Route 1. It's great to see this nod to a new starting point feature in the poster, and it looks like a sleepy Snorlax might be hiding behind the sign. From James's huge melons doing this to Ash eating soup with a fork. These are 50 mistakes that Pokemon producers need to apologize for. Starting off with one of the craziest mistakes.
Pika-pee.
Did you know that Ash had 2 Pikachus? I'm not kidding. The animator either mistakenly pressed copy-paste or he cloned poor Pikachu on purpose. Damn, isn't 1 Pikachu enough for Ash already? Apparently not, because check out how he lifts Larvitar like it is lightweight. Do you know how much this Pokemon weighs? A whopping 159 pounds. He lifted it as if it was 15 pounds. Okay, Superman, I see you. Here, Ash is holding up a Hippopotas and Pikachu as he climbs up a cliff with one arm. Mind you, Hippopotas weighs 109 pounds, and Pikachu weighs another 13 pounds. And in another episode, he even carries Hippopotas on his head. With a wide smile on his face and not even a strain on his muscles, he lifts up Pignite, who weighs a whopping 120 pounds. I wouldn't want to mess with Ash. I mean, check out those muscles. But let's now pause for a moment and watch this scene from episode 18. Warning, you are definitely not ready for this. Come on, why did they do this? It's a kids show, not some stuff for grown-ups. I mean, I know this was back in the 90s, but still. Of course, after a couple of months, this episode got banned because of this scene. If that wasn't enough harm to 90s kids, Pokemon went ahead to send 1,000 children to the ICU. You see, because of the 38th episode's flashing lights, many children in Japan experienced epi attacks and were hospitalized. Imagine the anger of the parents of those affected children. But that mistake was not as big of a mistake as Team Rocket's salute. This was low-key insensitive considering the time it aired. Thank goodness they corrected it. Even more troubling than the salute controversy is the incident where a Golbat trading card had a very inappropriate sign incorporated into its design. It's also truly baffling how something like that managed to pass through multiple quality checks, let alone Jinx's original design. Yeah, Jinx originally had a black face, but was changed to purple due to obvious reasons, if you know what I mean. So far, the mistakes I have revealed are plain as day and could be noticed by anyone. As we progress, I will reveal mistakes that are literally impossible to notice. For now, let's just move on to those ones that require just a little bit more attention to notice, like the brim of Ash's cap changing from red to white, his extra finger, his green gloves disappearing mysteriously, and him saying this.
I'll save Chikorita for later.
I think he meant to say he would save Cyndaquil for later, because Chikorita was so unavailable for later. Not only Ash, but Brock also fell victim to these mistakes.
These donuts are great. Jelly-filled are my favorite.
Jelly-filled donuts? I think he meant to say rice balls.
Both of Ash's Pokemon are water types, and they're totally weak against fire types.
I'm pretty sure he meant to say electric types, not water types. Remember, you need to pay a little bit attention to spot these mistakes? Now observe. Did you notice them? Poliwag is mistakenly labeled and referred to as Poliwrath, and Geodude is mistakenly labeled and referred to as Graveler. Damn, how does someone make such obvious mistakes? Not only have Pokemon names been mistaken, their colors have also changed at some point. Brock's purple Crobat changes color and emotion to blue in this episode, and apparently Growlithe turns into Arcanine.
Arcanine! Flamethrower!
This is an Arcanine, not this imposter. At least I knew that, but I didn't know where the hell Jessie kept her feet. At least the animators could have just zoomed in a bit. There, I fixed it. Jessie's feet are not the only missing body parts in this anime. Zoe also had a whole arm chopped off, and you need to watch episode 500 in slow motion to actually catch this mistake. In the same episode when Zoe's Glameow is fighting Weasel, Zoe tells Glameow to use Fury Swipes to protect against Weasel's Sonic Boom. Glameow strikes 6 times instead of the usual 2 to 5. In Pokemon Advanced Generation, episode 166, Curbing the Crimson Tide, the drawings on May Squirtle's face changes. This is before, and this is after May goes to the Pokemon Center. That's kind of weird if you ask me. Anyways, things are getting spicier because we are moving into the mistakes that are almost impossible to spot. Only true Pokemon trainers can spot these. Like this spelling of Grand Festival being Grand Festival? mention the many wrong answers in the Trainer's Choice segment.
Okay, trainers, if you chose Arbok, you were right.
The correct answer is none. Seviper doesn't evolve. Which Pokemon would last longer against a psychic attack?
Okay, trainers, if you chose Teddiursa, you were right.
I think they meant to say Puchaina, because it is a dark type, so it is immune to psychic attacks. Best choice to battle Ludicolo?
If you chose Camerupt, you were right.
Wrong. Mightyena and Duskull stand a better chance. But wait a minute, not only did they get the answer to this totally wrong, they didn't spell Fortress right as well. And speaking of misspelled Pokemon, they also misspelled Flaffy. Not one, not two, but 3 times. Come on, all they had to do was add one more F. In the 25th episode of the anime, there's a Pokeball with an advertisement for the Pokemon League, but instead of Pokemon, they spelled Pockemon, and they spelled League as Leag.
Trainers, which one of these Pokemon is the best choice to battle Tyrode?
Pause for a minute. Let's zoom in on Nuzleaf a bit. That's not Nuzleaf, that's Celio.
Trainers, which one of these Pokemon is the best choice to battle Meditite?
Again? That's not Nuzleaf, that's Beautifly. This is what Nuzleaf looks like. How did they get this so wrong? Okay, now we are down to beyond impossible to spot mistakes in Pokemon. These are as hard to spot as it is to catch all the Pokemon. I hope you're ready to get your mind blown away, because Ash too got his mind blown away at some point. His mouth split into 2. Yup, and this happened in the Pokemon movies Victini and Zekrom and Victini and Reshiram. Just before Victini reveals itself, Ash asks Victini if it lent him its powers. When Ash says this, his lips do not move with the rest of his mouth. Rather, it splits to accommodate 2D and 3D. I guess this is one of those optical illusion thingies, huh? In the English dub of Mewtwo Strikes Back, Pokemon were called by names that were not their own.
Hurricane winds are a breeze for Pidgeotto here.
That's Pidgeot, not Pidgeotto.
There goes Alakazam.
And it's Scyther, not Alakazam, for God's sake. Poor kids, the people responsible for this dub said they did this on purpose as an Easter egg for kids to find. Damn, I haven't heard that one before. At another point in the movie, Fergus claims that all his Pokemon are water types.
All my Pokemon are water type.
But he actually has a Nidoqueen, which is a poison ground type Pokemon. Either he didn't know or he was lying. But it wouldn't be the first time I caught a liar in the Pokemon anime. I caught Flint telling lies too. You see, in season 13, episode 8, Flint sparks the fire. When Flint is telling Ash his backstory, young Flint's Infernape was still a Chimchar. But when he tells the same story 15 episodes later, a younger Flint's Infernape is a Monferno. This had me thinking, do Infernapes undergo reverse evolution? Or was this just a continuity error? I know, right? It doesn't make sense. Another one that blew my mind was when Jinx uses Ice Punch, but Prima incorrectly ordered her to use Ice Beam in the dub.
Ice Beam attack!
And in the first episode of Pokemon, there's a small animation mistake when Ash opens his Pokédex for the first time. The Pokédex is missing its usual directional buttons, which are seen in the rest of the series. This just low-key symbolizes how the first season of Pokemon was just operating on vibes. And in the same episode, I sure remember Ash running into Professor Oak's lab in his PJs. So tell me why in the movie Forever Celebi, they recalled him running to the lab in his regular outfit. And this was not even the first time they made this mistake. They also repeated it in the movie Pokemon Heroes when Brock was narrating the story of how Ash met Pikachu. Something's definitely not right here. There were even mistakes in the very first episode as well. Would you look at that? Come on! The least they could do is give my man's NPC 001 his eyeballs. And the least the Pokemon movie Mewtwo Returns could do was not make this horrible mistake. In the movie, you can spot 2 tiny Pokemon that are meant to be baby versions of cloned Pokemon. However, there's a puzzling issue here. Nidoqueen, which was cloned, cannot breed and is only female. So, how did the cloned Nidoqueen manage to produce baby Nidoqueen without Nidoran or Nidorina? But that mistake is not as mind-blowing as the one I discovered in the 10th episode. Here, Ash is hanging his green bag, and a few seconds later, it is nowhere to be found. Could it be that it disappeared, or they forgot to color this green? They know how to color what shouldn't be green, like this poor Weedle from the 2nd episode. And because this Weedle is colored green, it now resembles a Caterpie. Finally, a mistake that ruins the very concept of Pokemon. Animals. The Pokemon world is enchanting and peculiar, teeming with all kinds of Pokémon across its regions. But there's a conspicuous absence in this world: regular animals. In the Pokémon universe, Pokémon take the place of animals, leaving no room for creatures as we know them. This makes it particularly odd when genuine animals from our world occasionally appear. For instance, you can even hear birds tweeting in the background, and non-Pokémon fish can be seen swimming in tanks at places like the Cerulean Gym. But the thing that really blows my mind are real-life foods that can contain meat products, such as hamburgers and chicken, that can be seen very often. Where did they get the meat from, huh? Where? Tell me, where? Unless they... Wait a minute. Oh my god, they couldn't possibly do that to their Pokémon! I also think that you'll be making a huge mistake if you don't subscribe to my channel right now and like this video, because I've put over 100 hours into making this video.
From aliens disguising as Pokemon to Bruce Lee making a cameo, these are 40 Easter eggs you definitely missed in Pokemon, starting with this imposter. See, to understand how much of an imposter Sableye is, you gotta know the story of the Kelly Hobsonville encounter in 1955, where 5 adults and 7 children ran into the Hobsonville police station claiming that small alien creatures from a spaceship were attacking their farmhouse. Fast forward to 2003, and the producers of Pokemon snuck in that same alien into Pokemon. But what's even crazier is the time James from the Team Rocket called Leo Burnett and 4 kids the devil. In the episode The Whistle Stop, James gets caught in Victor Bell's mouth and he mumbles inaudible words. But if you pause this clip and play it backwards, you're gonna hear James say,
Leo Burnett and 4 kids are the devil, Leo Burnett.
The reason Eric Stewart, the voice of James, said that was because 4 kids wanted to stop playing actors for commercial clips. I think another reason he did that was because his city of origin, New York, was mocked. And how did they do that exactly? You see, they used this Easter egg of a Pokemon, Coughing, in its evolution, Wheezing. They named Coughing after being inspired by how New York is so polluted it'd make you cough. And it's not only New York. Los Angeles was also an inspiration. Originally, Coughing and Wheezing were even supposed to be named NY in LA. If you must know, Coughing is not the only Pokemon that is a walking Easter egg. Hitmonchan is based on Jackie Chan, and Hitmonlee is a combination of Hit, Monster, and Lee, which references Bruce Lee. Speaking of Bruce Lee, did you know he made a cameo in Pokemon years after he died? In the episode Holiday Hijinks, Jessie recounts when, as a child, her doll got broken and then later stolen by Santa so that he could fix it. This doll was made to look just like Bruce Lee, and even the name of the doll was a reference to him. Its name is Acha Ningyo, and Acha is how Bruce Lee's battle cry sounds. It doesn't stop there. They also slipped in an Easter egg referencing a myth that was formed way before Bruce Lee was even born. This is Drowsy, and he has the power to put people to sleep, sense their dreams, and then eat their dreams. But did you know this skill is derived from the Japanese folklore of the Baku, creatures who eat bad dreams of sleeping people? As far as real-world references go, Parasect is more goated than Drowsy or Hitmonlee because it is the only Pokemon with a Pokédex entry that connects with the real world. The description in Pokemon Stadium entry states that Parasect is a bug host controlled by mushrooms that scatter poisonous spores. And these spores are also stated to have been used for medicinal purposes in China. Damn, that's wild! But not as wild as the 33 Easter eggs that I have yet to tell you. So far, the Easter eggs I uncovered are common Easter eggs, and we are moving up the ladder to rare Easter eggs. And seriously, we gotta talk about this subtle detail that straight up highlights Meowth and Pikachu's rivalry. The same way their Pokédex numbers are opposite. Meowth is number 52, while Pikachu is number 25. Wanna know which is number 1? Well, even though it's Bulbasaur, it is not the first Pokemon to be ever created. That would be Rhydon, but it seems odd since its Pokédex number is 112. Yeah, it all seems odd, but there wouldn't have been any Pokemon if the creator of Pokemon wasn't inspired by insect catching. That's right, Satoshi Tajiri, creator of the Pokemon franchise and the Game Freak Game Company, had a peculiar obsession with bug collecting as a boy. His classmates even mocked him because of it. Little did they know that his fascination with bug collecting would benefit children and adults across the entire planet. But it may or may not benefit poor Sparrow. Spearow because they made it colorblind. In the very first episode of the anime I Choose You, the scene in which sparrows chase Pikachu to attack it, the view is seen from the eyes of the Spearow and in black and white. That wasn't a mistake. Spearow is actually colorblind. I also thought they made a mistake when I discovered that 3 professors were named after trees: Professor Oak, Professor Sycamore, and Professor Kukui. But then I realized it wasn't just these 3 professors. The main series of professors in the game and anime are all named after trees: Professors Elm, Birch, Rowan, Juniper, and Magnolia. That's a very creative way to distinguish professors if you ask me. But it isn't as creative as how they distinguish Spindas. You see, there are over 4 billion unique variants to the pattern on the face of a Spinda. But even with that, it doesn't age. No Pokemon shows signs of growth and aging unless they evolve. All except Lapras. Lapras got so matured, Ash couldn't recognize it anymore.
I didn't even recognize you.
Ash didn't also know that while Lapras was away, I said to Lapras, "Quick, Lapras, use water gun on anyone who isn't subscribed to my channel." So you know, better subscribe or else I will also call Charizard to burn you alive. Just kidding. Listen, while I was researching Easter eggs, I found some Pokemon that are quite literally their names. Like Venusaur, which is a combination of the words Venus, which refers to the Venus flytrap plant, and the Greek word saur, meaning lizard. Wartortle gets its name from a combination of warrior and turtle. Poliwrath is a combination of the word Poliwag, which is a tadpole, and wrath. So yeah, an angry toad. Another thing I observed while poking around Easter eggs was this huge detail that has been right in front of our eyes the whole time. A lot of Pokemon are knockoffs of their real-life versions, but the creators went overboard with Poliwag. Poliwag is a knockoff of a tadpole, and you see one of its most prominent features is this huge swirl on its stomach. This is not just any random design. In real life, tadpoles have intestines that swirl and can be observed since their bellies are see-through. Stay with me because we are moving up our ladder to the ultra-rare Easter eggs. And for the last stage, I will reveal extremely mind-blowing Easter eggs that are impossible to spot. I spotted this hidden detail in Pokemon Origins. Pause. Take a look at this picture. I wonder what Arcanine is doing there with the 3 legendary birds. He's not a legendary Pokemon. It got me thinking, so I started sniffing around until I found out that Nintendo first made Zapdos, Articuno, and Arcanine the legendary trio. But they removed Arcanine because 2 birds and a dog on the same team just didn't make sense. This episode was actually created a while after they removed Arcanine, so this is just a little Easter egg to remind us that Arcanine was once a legendary Pokemon. Man, I wonder how you would know these sneaky Easter eggs without me. I also wonder how you would have known that some trainers use their Pokemon poop to keep themselves warm. Ooh, I know. It sounds disgusting. According to the Pokemon White Pokédex entry, Darumaka's droppings are hot. Often, people use these droppings to keep in their clothes to keep warm in cold environments. That stinks. But I think canceling an episode because of an earthquake stinks even harder. This episode's Shaking Island battle, Dojotsu versus Namazun, was supposed to air on the 4th of November 2004. But that day happened to be the same day as the devastating earthquake struck Japan. Because of the earthquake, the episode was pulled from the air and never aired anywhere in the world. Even the moves earthquake, fissure, and magnitude have never been used in the anime since. In part 1 of this video, I talked about how Jinx's design was changed because she used blackface. Well, it wasn't the only one. Ash got the 64th episode of the Sun and Moon series banned because he wore dark face paint to imitate the appearance of Passimian. Do you know who else would be banned? Drifloon. Do not be deceived by its cute looks. This Pokemon is a kidnapper. It often lures children by making them believe that it is a real balloon, and once they hold on to it, it carries them away to Arceus Nowhere. If you don't find that creepy, then I bet you will find this next Easter egg creepy. The original Pokemon theme song goes something like... But if you play it backwards, you will hear... Did you hear that? Let me play that again. I I heard all must die and all must testify. I'm not sure if the Pokemon creators went overboard with this Easter egg or if this is just a coincidence. Either way, that's creepy. Listen, Pikachu has been the face of Pokemon for as long as I can remember. But did you know it was Clefairy who was originally supposed to be the mascot of Pokemon instead of Pikachu? Yeah, the producers decided to drop Clefairy because it looked too girly and wouldn't appeal to boys. Did you also know that Pokemon Wormadam is based on adult female bagworms? Since Wormadam is unable to develop its wings, it can only be female. Only adult male bagworms can have wings to make them fly just like the franchise. Pokemon is the only video game to appear on the front cover of the Time magazine, and it featured in the November 1999 issue. That just goes to show how timeless this franchise is. Another way they show how timeless they can be is referencing Alexander Dumas's The Three Musketeers. This Easter egg is just crazy! The legendary Pokemon Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion, and Keldeo, aka the Swords of Justice, are based on the French novel The Three Musketeers. Cobalion is Athos, Terrakion corresponds to Porthos, Virizion is comparable to Aramis, and Keldeo represents D'Artagnan. They also snuck in Star Trek's Tricorder into the anime. In the episode's Hypno's Nap Time, Officer Ginny's device has a similar appearance and functionality to a tricorder. This is about to get even more interesting. Magikarp has always been known to use the move Splash, which is capable of doing absolutely no damage to the enemy. Well, did you know Splash actually was a mistranslation of Hop in Japanese? That's right, Magikarp has been strong the whole time. The Pokemon Slowpoke was originally supposed to be called Slow-Mo. I reserve my comments. And speaking of slow Pokemon, Slowbro and Slowking are the only Pokemon that can de-evolve in the anime. We are down to our last Easter eggs, the impossible to spot Easter eggs. I sure hope you're ready to get mind blown. The Pokemon Woe Buffet has always been a source of good humor and a unique Pokemon ever since it was first introduced. But what you didn't know is that the blue body of the Pokemon that we see up front is nothing more than just a huge inflatable decoy. The actual body of Woe Buffet is this small black tail behind it with eyes on it. Mewtwo is a clone of Mew, yet it comes before Mew in the Pokédex. Know why? Because they want to show you how scarce and hard to find Mew is. Earlier, I talked about the hidden message in the theme song, but I was saving the best for later. Did you know the Pokemon rap also has subliminal messages of its own? If played in reverse, you might be able to hear I love Satan repeatedly. And in the episode 5 of Battle Frontier, Meowth breaks the fourth wall in a not-so-subtle message. Meowth says,
You're giving me a pain, but I can't say where, because kids watch this show.
Not only has he broken that wall, he also told us the name of a game before it dropped. In the Pokemon Ranger of the Sea movie, Jessie goes,
We're the ones poised to pocket those diamonds and pearls.
Hey, that sounds like a good name for a game.
Guess what Pokemon named their next game? As far as references go, another one worth noting is the one in episode 29. At the beginning of this episode, when Ash is preparing for Pikachu to fight Hitmonchan, the Japanese version has him tell Pikachu to follow the For the Sake of Tomorrow strategies. This is an obvious reference to the incredibly influential boxing, manga, and anime Ashita no Joe. Now get ready because this last Easter egg will definitely blow your mind away. And that is the hidden details that tells us Ash's mom was a bad guy. Yep, word on the street is she once belonged to Team Rocket. Allow me to elaborate. Exhibit A. Delia is very knowledgeable about Pokemon and training. Tell me, how does she know so much, huh? I will close my case with Exhibit B. In Pokemon Live, a musical based on Pokemon, Delia dated Giovanni, the head of Team Rocket. From this episode that almost ended 5,000 kids to this one that had James acting way too sus. These are 18 Pokemon episodes that got banned. And before we talk about this killer episode, we gotta talk about the biggest episode in terms of plot to get banned. This episode is also kind of a killer one because a gun was put to Ash's head. did! Yeah, I'm talking about the 35th episode of the anime, The Legend of Miniru. If he didn't do that, this episode wouldn't have gotten banned in the United States. And there wouldn't have been a huge continuity error because this episode had Ash catch all 30 of his taros. Did you know he didn't stop at pointing a gun at Ash? Oh boy, he even went ahead to shoot a Team Rocket. This is a kid's show, for God's sake, not some Western movie. And he isn't even the only one that tried to off someone. Producers of this episode attempted that too. Because tell me, why would they send this many kids to the ICU by giving them seizures? You've probably heard about this one before in my previous video, but I left out the part where this was caused by Pikachu. Yup, during one scene of this episode, Cyber Soldier Porygon had Pikachu stop some missiles with his Thunderbolt attack, but stopping the missiles led to a very large and quick sequence where lights flashed at 12 cycles per second and vividly on the screen. Some of these lights were even strobe lights that flashed more than 12 times in 1 second. This scene caused a total of approximately 685 Japanese kids, 375 girls, and 310 boys to be sent to the ICU. And this scene also caused the episode to get banned in every country in the world. But this next episode was banned only in South Korea. They banned it because there was a samurai in it. I know, it's crazy. The name of the episode is literally Challenge of the Samurai. What were they expecting? Just like the episode where this guy pointed a gun at Ash, this ban also caused a continuity error because this is the episode where Ash's Metapod evolves to Butterfree. Apparently, South Korea frowns upon any references to Japanese culture, even though it is a harmless depiction, like the one in this episode where a kid named Samurai drips like a samurai. And South Korea would also frown upon a character dripping in not only samurai attire, but also in traditional Japanese clothing. That's right, South Korea did not hesitate to ban this episode, called Erika and Kusai Hana. It was banned just because of the traditional Japanese clothing that Erika wore in the perfume shop. This episode is pretty important because in it Ash obtained the rainbow badge, so banning this episode also caused a continuity glitch. Speaking of glitches, did you know a glitch in the Matrix once got an episode to get banned in your country? See, the 101st episode of the Ruby and Sapphire series, Shaking Island Battle, Dojak vs. Namazune, basically revolved around a bunch of wish cash causing an earthquake. And it was scheduled to broadcast on the 4th of November 2004. But 11 days before this episode aired, the second deadliest earthquake to ever strike Japan struck Japan. Because of this earthquake, the producers of the show thought it would be really insensitive to air an episode that was about earthquakes just mere weeks after the disaster. So they pulled the episode from the air and never aired it anywhere in the world. Not only did this episode get banned, the moves Earthquake, Fissure, and Magnitude also got banned and have never been used in the anime ever since. Just so you know, this is the first regular episode of the entire anime to never be aired at all. And how would you know that if you didn't have me? But did you also know that this wasn't the last episode to get banned for earthquake-related reasons? That's right! 2 episodes that would have had Team Rocket face off against Team Plasma were banned because of the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake. The episodes were the 23rd and 24th episodes of the Black and White series, and they were set to air on March 17th and 24th, respectively, in 2011. But they both got delayed because one of the episodes had a scene where Castilia City was being destroyed, and that low-key resembled the Tohoku earthquake that had just happened just 12 days before the episode would air. At the time, this episode was going to be aired on a much later date because it was just too good of an episode. But ever since this episode got delayed, it has never aired, and I don't think it will ever be seen by anyone. But get this, while these episodes were simply skipped in Japan, the Pokemon Company International edited the dubbed version of the previous episode of Venipede Stampede to remove the cliffhanger ending that set up the story. So by the time Team Plasma finally appeared almost 2 years later, the episodes have been removed from the storyline. So if I were you, I wouldn't wait for this episode anymore. I mean, they've already made the scripts of the episode public and detailed the events that would have taken place in them. But you know what else was made public? My channel, where I supply you with the best Pokemon content out here. So subscribe, or I will ban you from my channel like they banned the Tower of Terror episode. This is the only episode on this list that got banned just because of its name. The Tower of Terror is the 23rd episode of the anime, and it got banned in the US exactly 4 years after it aired, specifically after 9th September in 2001, because the episode's title may or may not have reference to you-know-what. At least they took away the ban after some time, and that's kind of the same thing they did to the episode Tentacruel and Tentacool. You see, this episode got banned not once, but twice. The first time it got banned was after the devastating events of September 11th in 2001. In the months following the attack, Kids WB did not air the episode again because there was a scene where Tentacruel smashed a skyscraper and another scene where this guy used a machine gun. However, when Cartoon Network started to air Pokemon, this episode was put back into rotation, but it got banned again 4 years later because of Hurricane Katrina. You heard me right. They banned it again because it portrayed a city flooded underwater, just like Hurricane Katrina did to New Orleans. They later lifted the ban on Tentacool and Tentacruel, but I can't say the same for this episode that got banned in Turkey. You see, this episode, The Song of Jigglypuff, had a scene where gambling took place, and gambling is illegal in Turkey. No way Turkey was having that. I'm not sure if Pokemon intended this to be a joke, but Turkey did not find it funny because they banned it forever. And that's not the only joke a country banned a Pokemon episode for. This is The Bicker the Better, and it got banned in France, Ireland, Aruba, and several other countries because of its Battle of the Sexes theme.
Believe it or not, this sort of turmoil has been going on between a man and a woman since the beginning of time.
Yup, most of the plot centers around men versus women. Take a look. Ash versus May, and James versus Jessie. And Jessie and May even formed a team to battle against Ash and James. This episode also features one of the most famous gender-exclusive Pokemon, Nidoking and Nidoqueen. Did you know this is the only Advanced Generation episode to be banned? Did you also know the episode Ringmasters in Johto League Champions was banned in South Korea? That's right, Kim Dae-young banned it because it focused on, guess what? Sumo wrestling, an old Japanese traditional style of fighting. If you think we're done with mentioning South Korea, you'd be wrong. They also banned the episode called Doing What Comes Naturally. The episode had a fortune-telling show similar to Shinto tradition. Damn, South Korea needs to chill on banning these Pokemon episodes. I mean, it's just an anime, Did you know South Korea is the country that has banned the most number of Pokemon episodes? Yup. And 95% of the episodes that they ban are because they reference Japanese culture. They even banned the episode About with Sprout because the Sprout Tower resembles traditional Japanese architecture. I don't think that's a good reason to ban an episode. Neither do I think banning an episode because the narrator got arrested is fair. Pikachu and Pichu is the 7th Pikachu short where Ash and his friends celebrated the first year anniversary of Ash's Pokemon journey. But did you know this is the only episode on this list that only Japan banned? And why did Japan do this? Well, because the short's original narrator, Sakai Noriko, got arrested in 2009 for being in possession of drugs. And by drugs, I don't mean Salveo weed. Listen, not only has a narrator gotten an episode banned, a certain Pokemon has also been the reason an episode was banned in the US. And can you guess what Pokemon I'm talking about? It's Jinx! Even Ash himself has caused a ban too, but we'll get to that later. You see, after the episode Holiday Hijinks aired, a woman named Carol Boston Weatherford voiced her concerns in an article, pointing out that Jinx is a negative stereotype of African Americans related to characters in the story of the Little Black Sambo. As a response to these criticisms, the episode was swiftly removed from rotation. Subsequently, it hasn't been believed to have aired again since the year 2000. The episode was later edited in Japan in 2012, and Jinx's skin was changed to purple as well. Hold up. Holiday Hijinks wasn't the only episode that Jinx got banned. The episode The Ice Cave was also banned due to the large focus on Jinx, whose purple redesign was not used in this episode. 4Kids even once said that on the Cerebi forums that the episode will never air because the character of Jinx happens to be a controversial Pokemon in America that some find offensive. Unlike the previous episodes, this one has never aired in English. It got banned and has never been seen outside of Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Remember how I said Ash has gotten an episode banned? This episode from the Sun and Moon series was wiped from the face of the earth because Ash wore dark face paint resembling blackface during the second half of the episode in order to imitate the appearance of a Passimian. Do you think they were being way too serious with this ban? I mean, there was a clear reason why Ash was painted, and it couldn't be misunderstood in any way. It wasn't even misunderstood when it was originally aired. But anyways, we have finally arrived at the episode that deserved every ban that it got. This episode was initially banned when the episodes were first dubbed for airing in the United States. It got banned because James wore an inflatable bodysuit to give him large breasts in order to win a beauty contest. And look what happened. It's a show for kids. You really didn't have to do this. That's not all that happened in the episode. You see, in the original Japanese, an elderly man stared at Misty some type of way and said that he looks forward to having fun with her in 8 years. I wonder what he meant by that. Tell me, have you ever wondered why there are hundreds of Nurse Joys and Officer Jennies all having the same face, same voice, claiming they are relatives?
Dusclops is a ghost type.
This should be a pretty even matchup. A ghost type and a fire type.
Well, the FBI told me they are not relatives, but clones. And another messed up idea about the show is the fact that the whole idea of Pokemon is enslaving wild animals to make them fight each other for entertainment. I always thought the idea of humans capturing magical animals was for love and company. Turns out I was wrong. Well, don't judge me for being wrong, because even the entire world once believed that the voice actress of Sweet Little Pikachu died. You see, in 2010, rumors spread all over the internet that the voice actress Ikui Otani had died at 44. It got so serious that even Wikipedia believed the rumors and added a death day to Otani's profile. The rumors just kept spreading until a spokesperson with Otani's agency denied the scary news, stating that Otani was healthy and fine. Now imagine Pokemon without Pikachu, or imagine a Pokemon without a body. You'd be imagining Dusclops, a walking black hole whose body is completely hollow and it can absorb anything into it. Well, did you know that this Pokemon is a ripoff of Alphonse from Full Metal Alchemist, who is also an armor without a body in it? This is Alphonse Elric, and this is Dusclops. See the resemblance? Yup, Pokemon kept this secret from you. They also kept the secret of it being based on the Hitotsume Kotso, a supernatural apparition from Japanese folklore that takes on the appearance of a bald-headed child with one eye in the center of its forehead. That's just dark, but it made me keep looking into dark secrets about Pokemon, and you will not believe what I found in some Pokemon Dex entries. I found Pokemon killing fellow Pokemon, and even their own trainers. And most of these are in the Mega Evolutions Dex entries. I mean, just take a look at Mega Salamence, who slices in half any human or Pokemon who gets in the way of its flight path. Even Mega Garchomp is so vicious, it would not hesitate to use the scythes on its arms to carve up its opponents. If I had a Pokemon, I'd make sure it doesn't have beef with Mega Garchomp. And as a trainer, I'd run away from Mega Absol because it converts the energy from Mega Evolution into an intimidating aura that kills faint-hearted people. And I'm not faint-hearted, but I'm not taking any chances. If you think these secrets are crazy, just wait, because the next 42 secrets are even more mind-blowing. For now, let's get into the secrets that are confidential. While I was sniffing around for secrets, I found out that Ash's mom, not knowing where her husband or father are, and Ash being old enough to go on an adventure around the world are not the only evidence to show that there is minimal parental supervision. You see, Brock's dad also left to go for training and never returned. Another evidence of this is the fact that children as young as Ash and Misty can marry each other legally, go out into the world to earn their fortunes. Speaking of fortunes, did you know Ash is secretly a millionaire? How else else is a 10-year-old able to afford taking care of 97 Pokemon, travel the world, and feed himself? My boy must be rich. But he isn't richer than this couple because they are the heads of the richest family in Pokemon. They are aristocrats who also make money from their many properties. For them to be the richest means they are really outstanding because making money in the Pokemon world is quite easy. Basically, Pokemon is a world where everyone has too much money despite doing zero work. I mean, even your job is just extorting people by making your magical creatures beat up their magical creatures. Let's not even talk about the fact that healthcare is free, public transport doesn't cost a penny, and every trainer you bump into has cash in their pockets. And trust me when I say, this couple you were looking at has stacks and stacks of cash. But can you guess whose parents they actually are? They're James's parents. This makes James way richer than Ash, even though James outlawed himself from his parents. And the fact that he is an outlaw has something to do with his name. You see, James's English name is taken from the American outlaw Jesse James, and his Japanese name, Kojiro, is taken from Sasaki Kojiro, a prominent Japanese swordsman most famous for being killed by his rival Miyamoto Musashi, the namesake of Jesse. But while James comes from money, Jesse grew up in a very poor home where food was scarce. But this does not stop her from always looking her best. I observed Jessie and found out that she always has a full face of makeup, red lipstick, this uniquely styled hair, and green earrings. This isn't just for aesthetics, you know. This little detail about Jessie just goes to show how much she hates being broke. And how broke was she? Well, I'll let you in on this secret. Jessie was so broke, she once ate a whole meal made out of snow, which her mom made for her. Oh, that's a dark past, but it does not compare to how dark Mewtwo's secret origin story is. This story is so dark, the producers had to cut it from the first Pokemon movie before it was released in America. You see, one of the scientists who helped create Mewtwo made a clone of his dead daughter, and it bonded with Mewtwo. Unfortunately, the clone girl died, and Mewtwo got so devastated by the loss of his cloned human friend, it grew to hate humans. Mewtwo hates humans so much he actually killed a bunch of scientists in the first Pokemon movie in the lab where he awakens. That's so dangerous. Know what's even more dangerous? Haunter. Yup, Haunter is so dangerous, it can put you into a seizure that can kill you. You see, its tongue is made of a lethal gas that if it licks its victim, they would start shaking constantly until death eventually comes. It's official. I am terrified. This next secret I'm about to tell, you can't let anyone know. All right, come closer. Ash said I should tell you to subscribe to my channel immediately because if you don't, he won't tell you the secret behind this Pokemon. Subscribed? Okay, the Pokemon Fire Red's Kadabra Pokédex entry tells the story of a boy who woke up one morning transformed in Kadabra. You'd think such a unique situation would make this child a Harry Potter-like celebrity in the Pokemon world, but no! They kept it a secret. There's no mention of anyone advocating for this child or showing concern about the transformation. That's scary. Next one isn't as creepy as the last, but it's definitely weirder. If you've watched the Pokemon anime before, you'd probably know that Cubone wears its deceased mother's skull. But do you know why? Well, the first reason would be that the skull provides ample defense for the hopeless Pokemon. Another creepier reason would be that every Cubone has a dead mom. So who killed every Cubone's mom, if not the Cubone? That was it for the confidential secrets. Now let's talk about the strictly confidential secrets that even the FBI don't know about. Did you know Ken Sugimori, the character designer and art director for the Pokemon franchise, designed every last one of the original 151 Pokemon all on his own? Damn! Imagine having to draw all this! Thank goodness there is now a full-blown art team aiding in the creation of the 1021 Pokemon roster. Now, here's the secret. Despite the much-needed help, Sugimori still makes it a point to personally approve each new creature's design. Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of the Pokemon franchise, probably doesn't want you to know that there is a protein named after Pikachu. You see, when a new form of extracellular matrix-like retinal protein was first discovered in 2008 in Japan by Shigeru Sato and others, the decision was made to name it Pikachurin due to its similarity between its nimble nature and Pikachu's lightning-fast moves. He probably doesn't also want you to know that his father once saved Game Freak from extinction. When Game Freak was sinking during the development of the first generation of games, Satoshi's father provided financial support that stopped the company from sinking. And even when the company still faced more financial problems and lost $5 5 employees. Satoshi still held it down and showed his dedication to the project by giving up his salary to make sure Pokemon became a reality. Sounds like something Ash Ketchum would do. Did you know that Pokemon was once supposed to be called capsule monsters? That's right, and when Satoshi pitched this idea to Nintendo, they were skeptical about it. But even though Nintendo turned it down, Shigeru Miyamoto, the man behind the Legend of Zelda series, liked and accepted the idea. It would eventually come to sell over 279 million copies worldwide. Listen, this Pokemon, Parasect, appears a bunch of times to give medicine to help others using its plants. And it's also known to infest multiple large trees and drain nutrients from the lower trunk and roots until the infested tree dies. Try not to mess with Parasect, because the same way it can drain nutrients from a tree is the same way it can drain nutrients from a human. Creepy Pokemon. But Minior has a much darker secret. Minior are cute Pokemon from space that eat and make a shell, but their shell breaks when they fall to Earth, and on Earth they make friends and have fun. But this fun lasts only for a day, because once a Minior shell breaks, it starts a degenerative cycle that ends up with Minior disintegrating about a day later. Damn, who let Thanos into the building? Who did also let these animals in? Damn, would you look at that? Just another secret in Pokemon. Animals coexisting with Pokemon. Another secret is that Game Freak intentionally made Snorlax to stand up in 2013 for the release of Pokemon X and Y after 17 years of laying or sitting down. Just look at these images. Snorlax standing was a masterpiece. 17 years in the making. But Magikarp has never been considered a masterpiece. It is often considered weak and useless by many trainers. Little do they know that Magikarp is a descendant of an ancient and powerful Pokemon that ruled the seas in ancient times. So true! Now it makes sense why this fish of a Pokemon evolves into Gyarados, a fearsome dragon-like Pokemon that can cause storms and destruction with its rage. Another Pokemon that symbolizes terror is Mewtwo! And it is that easy because it was created through a bunch of genetic experiments that made it vicious. It is also a symbol because it is based on a much darker force, Gigas, from the Mother series of games. Did you know there are 2 Mews in Pokemon? The Mew in the Lucario movie is different from the one in the first movie. The first movie's Mew seems more powerful, while the Lucario movie's Mew relies much more on transforming. That's the same way there are more than one Darkrai's. You see, there is a difference between the Darkrai from the movie and Tobias's Darkrai. Observe, the hands are different. The white flowing hair is different as well, even the way they sound. There is also nothing that suggests how a sword could be a Pokemon. I used to wonder how Honedge is living if it is a sword, until I found out that this Pokemon is born when a departed spirit inhabits a sword. It attaches itself to people and drinks their life force. That sounds creepy. What's even creepier is if anyone dares to grab its hilt, it wraps a blue cloth around that person's arm and drains that person's life energy completely. Seems looks are deceiving, and this Pokemon, Phantom, proves that. You see, Phantom is not just a possessed tree stump, but a stump possessed by the spirits of children who died in the forest. In the world of Pokemon, kids who get lost in the forest and die there turn into these ghostly stumps. So, if you capture a Phantom, you're capturing the soul of not just a human being, but a human child. Now that's terrifying. We are down to the top secrets on this list. Brace yourself and prepare to be shocked. Quick question. What is Brock's surname? Just so you know, it's never explicitly stated in the anime. I know Ash's surname is Ketchum, but did you know that Brock's surname is Harrison? Did you also know that Misty's surname is Misty Williams? Yep, and I wouldn't have known this if the voice actors of Misty and Brock confirmed this in a 2006 interview with K-Zone magazine. Not only did they keep these surnames a secret, they also kept secret the fact that there was supposed to be a Pokemon inspired by Dolly the sheep, but this plan was ultimately canceled. In case you didn't know, this is Dolly, and in 1996, Dolly was the first mammal to ever get cloned. Know what else was supposed to be but wasn't? The anime! Let me explain. At first, the Pokemon anime was supposed to be a single series to promote the game in the 1990s, but it became so popular that it led to more than 20 series and 23 movies being produced. Today, it stands as one of the longest-lasting anime series. Did you know what the Rocket in Team Rocket stands for? Apparently, it stands for Raid on City, Knock Out Evil Tusks. The reason behind this acronym remains unclear, but it's pretty clear that it doesn't mean anything good. And just like Team Rocket, Cofagrigus does not mean anyone good because it swallows those who get too close to it and turns them into mummies. Mummification is so creepy, especially when you consider the fact that this is a kids show, and this kids show has even made its way onto a nation's currency. See, in 2001, the island country of Niue in New Zealand Fund issued a set of dollar coins featuring popular Pokemon characters such as Pikachu, Meowth, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander. And thank goodness it doesn't feature this creepy Pokemon. I call Yamask creepy because its Pokemon Black Pokédex entry says that each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Human? Imagine being a human 1 second and another second someone is saying, I choose you. Aren't the people in the Pokemon world terrified they might just turn into Pokemon? Did you know that Pokemon even exist in real life? I'll show you 32 of them that were seen in our real world. And before I tell you how they caught me in real life, I gotta tell you a more shocking discovery. I'm talking about Relicanth, who was fished out of the real world almost 1 billion years after it apparently went extinct. Damn, this Pokemon really put the relic in Relicanth. It was discovered during deep sea exploration, a Pokemon whose appearance hasn't changed in 100 million years. No way this could be caught in real life, right? Wrong. In 1938, a museum curator, Marjorie Courtenay-Latimer, discovered the first coelacanth specimen among the catch of Captain Hendrik Goosen off the east coast of South Africa, off the Chalumna River. Before this discovery, coelacanths were thought to have become extinct around 66 million years ago, just like the Relicanth. Damn, is the Earth that old? It was just like discovering a dinosaur that survived the meteor strike. And discovering Stunfisk in real life was equally as epic as that. Stunfisk is this cute Pokemon that exhibits a unique regional variation. In the Galar region, it takes on a ground steel type, which is distinct from its standard ground electric status in most regions. Too bad it isn't this cute in real life. Just like Stunfisk, the northern stargazer fish has their eyes on top of their head, allowing them to always look up. Stunfisk and Stargazer also share the same height and weight, even though this Stargazer looks creepier. Now, we gotta talk about that time I got caught in 4K. It was just a regular day in Melbourne, Australia, when this cute brush-tailed possum with a bright yellow coat walked into the Boronia Veterinary Clinic. It was really shocking because brush-tailed possums were not supposed to be golden. You see, this wasn't just any regular brush-tailed possum. It was a mutant. Luckily, I was rescued and sent to a secret wildlife sanctuary where I can live a long, happy life. Full disclosure, it wasn't really me. Anyway, this Pokemon looks a lot like a sea slug. Just like Relicanth, Shellos was found under the sea in the form of a similarly bizarre animal. I'm talking about a brightly colored and patterned sea slug called Lox Chromotorus. Just look at them! Isn't the resemblance uncanny? Man, these Pokemon seem pretty hard to find. Except this next one. You can find it even in your room if you don't act right. Last time I saw this particular Pokemon was yesterday in the morning when I had to take out the trash for Ash. I'm talking about Trubbish, who is literally a walking trash bag. Unlike Trubbish, Wooper is not a trash bag. It's more of an endangered species, the padomorphic salamander, axolotl. Compared to the rest of its body, Wooper's head is quite large, and branch-like gills protrude from it. Wooper is basically an axolotl without arms, which also has external gills. Axolotls can only be found in specific lakes in the Valley of Mexico, and they are far more aquatic than other salamander species. Wooper may not be that intelligent, but it always seems to have a smile on its face, much like the axolotl. The water has not been the only place that real-life Pokemon have been found. The legendary bird Articuno has been found in the sky. Yup, and it was caught in the form of a black-throated magpie jay, a long-tailed bird that is native to northern Mexico and has feathers on its head that closely resemble Articuno. Fortunately, the magpie jay is much more common than the legendary Articuno. Articuno's Galarian form is harder to pin down, as it draws inspiration from a mask worn at a masquerade ball. Who knew this could be a Pokemon? Who also knew this could be a Pokemon? Whatever this is. Hold on a sec. Let me check what this is. Got it. A Glard sea dragon, a species of marine fish that was found off the coast of Australia. Just take a look at this sea dragon. You can't tell me this isn't the spitting image of Dragalge. Like this real-life creature, Dragalge has camouflage abilities using aquatic plants as a disguise for protection. And unlike Dragalge, which sprays an impressive corrosive poison, sea dragons are entirely harmless. Know what else is harmless? The Pokemon Corsola in its real-life version. The brightly colored colored and branched pink-red precious coral. However, it's important to note that while Corsola has its own distinct smiling face, the precious coral are not singular individual organisms. Instead, what appears as a single coral is actually a colony composed of genetically identical individual coral polyps. Damn, these Pokemon just hide in anything, huh? Just like Gorbis disguises in the real world as a long-nosed chimera. Yes, a long-nosed chimera is this fish. This family of cartilaginous fish can be found in the temperate and tropical seas worldwide. They are also sometimes known as spookfish, which seems appropriate given their quite ghostly appearance and their dark, deep-sea habitat. This video is about to get even more interesting because tell me why there is a Pokemon in our world hiding as a flower that literally smells like a dead body. You heard me right. Vileplume is a combination of vile and bloom. So if you find this stinking corpse lily, then you have caught this Pokemon. The Rafflesia arnoldi, also known as the corpse lily to some, is one unique flower. It is native to a specific area of Indonesia and is known for being one of the largest flowers in the world. On top of its massive size, this flower is known for producing a disgusting smell, similar to that of rotting flesh. That's where it got its name. If you check underneath this flower, you may just find Vileplume hiding underneath. Don't you see how the top of its head looks just like this flower? This just reminds me of another Pokemon disguised as a plant. Take a look at this pitcher plant. Does it look familiar? Look at it now. I'm sure you see the resemblance. This upside-down pitcher plant with a huge mouth on top may look strange, but knowing that it is Victory Bell hiding in our world makes me want to catch this Pokemon. Too bad it may catch me before I do that. You see, pitcher plants are carnivorous plants that are native to various parts of the U.S. They have a long, open area that is filled with a substance that helps them to feed on any prey that falls into its mouth. Another creature that would devour anything that fell into its long mouth is the Gorile, or should I say the Pokemon Crocodile? Crocodile has been known as the bully of the sands. It uses the sandy terrain as cover to patiently wait for prey to pass just by, like the Gorile, who utilizes their specialized snouts to detect water vibrations, allowing them to swiftly snatch fish as they pass by. I just hope it doesn't snatch poor Magikarp in the process. This Pokemon just lacks strength, but when it evolves into Gyarados, sheesh! As I was saying, Gariel better not eat this Pokemon in real life because it is an endangered species, the yellow-eye rockfish. What's even more fascinating is that the yellow-eye rockfish, even though endangered, can live to be over 100 years old. Unlike Magikarp, I don't think the Pokemon Psyduck can live up to a century because of its erratic behavior. As it turns out, Psyduck's behavior and name is all a plot to mislead you from figuring out what it really is in real life. You see, the Pokemon isn't actually a duck, nor was it inspired by one. It was modeled after platypuses, which are nearly as enigmatic as Psyduck itself. Like Psyduck, they spend most of their time in or around water, though they're notably less prone to debilitating headaches. Unlike Psyduck, Sandshrew doesn't cause headaches, but that has not stopped it from being hunted down and trafficked in real life. Let me take you back to 2017, when a 6-week-old Sunda pangolin was rescued by the Singapore Zoo and nicknamed it Sandshrew because of how it resembled the Pokemon. The real-life Sandshrew was safely returned to the wild in 2018 and was tracked as part of the pangolin conservation efforts. Sunda pangolins are among the most trafficked mammals on Earth. Killed for their meat and scales, the International Union of Conservation of Nature, IUCN, lists the species as critically endangered, with an extremely high risk of extinction. Damn, they better not let Sandshrew go extinct. Same goes for Jupiter. No way, a Pokemon that resembles a spider with a water bubble over its head? This can't possibly exist in real life. That's what I thought, until I heard of the diving bell spider. Diving bell spiders live primarily underwater, gathering air into a bubble around its abdomen to breathe and provide an air supply to its nest. Unlike Jupiter, they spend most all their lives underwater. And unlike Jupiter, Fennekin is very cute. The adorable fire-type Pokemon's name is a dead giveaway to its real-life version, the Phoenix Fox. Just as adorable as their Pokemon counterparts, Phoenix Foxes are native to the Sahara Desert, which undoubtedly inspired Fennekin's fire-based abilities. Both creatures have large ears, which also loosely share a similar function. Phoenix Foxes use their ears to keep cool in the desert, and Fennekins use theirs to vent hot air. Speaking of Pokemon that are obviously among us, Caterpie is just... isn't that a caterpillar? Yup, Caterpie is a caterpillar, but not just any caterpillar. It is strikingly similar to the eastern tiger swallowtail caterpillar. It has the same green body, black and yellow eyes, and the same long piece sticking off of the front of its head. This caterpillar can even employ a defense strategy with false eyes, using them to create the illusion of a larger size, thereby thereby deterring potential aggressive threats. Aggressive threats like the Mankey, a quite short-tempered Pokemon. With its odd round body and pig snout, Mankey is obviously a monkey in disguise. But just like Caterpie, it's not just any monkey. It is the Barbary macaque, an agile climber and a social animal living in large colonies in treetops. Quick question, what do you get when you crossbreed a raccoon and a zigzag? This guy! A zigzagoon is just a raccoon dog in real life. This charming character is based on a similarly sweet-looking species of canid, the Japanese raccoon dog, found only in Japan. They are closely related to the common raccoon dog and more distantly related to foxes. In Japanese folklore, raccoon dogs, or tanuki, hold a significant place. They appear in tales as mischievous tricksters, capable of shape-shifting effortlessly to take on human forms. This just made Zigzagoon creepy to me, but I still find Zubat creepier. I mean, just take a look at its real-life version. This is the Cuban greater funnel-eared bat, and it can only be found in one particular cave in westernmost Cuba. I also find Zubat creepy because it also resembles a vampire bat. You know what Pokemon I don't find creepy? Rhydon. It's big and scary, but it's not that creepy when you get to know it in real life. Its horn, bipedal gait, and thick tail would make you think that it's a combination of a rhinoceros and some kind of dinosaur. But would it shock you to know that Rhydon is a carbon copy of one species of rhino in particular, the Javan rhinoceros? Like Rhydon, this rhino only has one horn and thick armor-like skin. It is also one of the most endangered species of animal in the world, with less than 100 of its kind left. This next Pokemon is not even an animal in real life, but a myth. I'm talking about Drowsy, which is based on the Japanese myth of the Baku. The Baku are creatures who eat bad dreams of sleeping people. Anywho, what I may have left out is that the Baku was created by the spare pieces that were left over when the gods finished creating all the other animals. No wonder Drowsy shares some traits with tapirs and elephants. Its jewel coloring makes it especially similar to the Malayan tapir. Another Pokemon who you might have seen before in real life is the Poliwag, who is literally any tadpole you come across. See, Poliwag's most prominent feature is this huge swirl on its stomach. Would it shock you to know that it is not just any random design? In real life, tadpoles have intestines that swirl and can be observed since their bellies are see-through. Listen, prominent features are not all that is used to figure out what Pokemon lives among us. Sometimes you just gotta observe what they do, as is the case with the Remoraid, who is remarkably similar to the archerfish. Archerfish are a group of freshwater fish that shoot water at prey using their remarkably good aim to hit their targets from up to 7 feet away. Remoraid uses a similar strategy to hunt its prey. However, unlike the archerfish, Remoraid is capable of hitting its target from 300 feet away. Some Pokemon are just terrible at hiding in the real world. We even get to see some every passing day, just like Butterfree. Indeed, the name Butterfree is a clever fusion of free and butterfly. Even though the size of the Pokemon is bigger, there's no mistaking that this Pokemon is a butterfly. There is also no mistaking that Dugong is Dugong, aka sea cow. Not only do they look alike, their names are practically the same. The story behind this real-life Pokemon is quite sad because researchers found that Dugong is going extinct. Matter of fact, it is functionally extinct in China, with no sightings recorded since 2008, not even in clean waters. But you can find the Pokemon Luvedisc in the clear ocean waters of the Pokemon world. Even though this Pokemon looks completely unique and nothing like a lot of the real-world fish that we see all the time, it was actually inspired by the kissing gourami. The kissing gourami is a fish with a similarly pale pink color that is known for having a puckered-up mouth. I see where it got its name. Did you know that the legendary Pokemon Terrakion has an animal doppelganger? Yep, none other than the Takin, a powerfully built mammal that looks similar to a muskox but is more closely related to a wild sheep. If you are interested in catching them all, you can find Takins roaming the eastern Himalayas of Bhutan, China, Tibet, India, and Myanmar, up to 13,000 feet above sea level. But beware, they have powerfully built quadrupeds and weigh almost a ton. You might want to be very careful, and if you want to play it safe, you can actually go after Rattata in real life because it is not as heavy as Takin. But it is even rarer than Takin because this can only be found in Chile. That's right, in real life, Rattata is a Bennett's chinchilla rat, a species of chinchilla rat that can only be found in Chile, where its habitat is Mediterranean-type scrub on the western side of the Andes. I have told you about real-life Pokemon that are fishes, birds, plants, bats, corals, and even a trash bag. But what about a monster? A Pokemon that doesn't exist as an animal or myth in our world, but as a monster. I'm talking about the Pokemon Mawile, the reincarnation of the Japanese monster known as Futakuchi Poochyona. We are talking about a monster that has two mouths, a normal one located on her face and its second one on the back of the head beneath the hair, just like Mawile. In Japanese mythology, this is a woman who has been too strict about what she eats. This intense restriction on the food she consumes causes another mouth to grow on the back of her head. This is outright creepy. What if Ash got this cute guy or this guy instead of Pikachu? I just can't help but wonder all the ways Pokemon would turn out if Ash never got Pikachu. And I bet you won't believe what would happen if Ash got the Pokemon he was originally supposed to. For Ash to get Clefairy, he wouldn't even need to be early or late or stumble on it in the wild. The thing is, no matter what Ash does, the writers would just make the plot suitable for Ash to get Clefairy. So let's say Ash wakes up late as usual, races to meet Professor Oak, sees that Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander are all taken. But instead of Pikachu, Professor Oak would give Clefairy to Ash. Man, we wouldn't have a story if Ash got this cute little guy, because they would both die before the second episode. At least Ash and Oak wouldn't get shot. Clefairy wouldn't be strong enough to defend Ash against the flock of Spearow, like Pikachu did in the first episode. This means they both wouldn't survive this encounter, unless the writers wanted them to. But I can't imagine Clefairy being a perfect match for Ash, because it looks so girly. Thank goodness the producers saw that and dropped the idea. But what if the idea was for Ash to get a Spearow as his starter Pokemon? Ash would have to turn up late, causing Professor Oak to give him only 6 Pokeballs and a Pokédex. So Ash would set out into the wild where he would encounter a Spearow. All Ash would want at that moment is his own Pokemon. So determined, Ash would swiftly grab a Pokeball, aim a Pokeball instead of a rock, and successfully capture the Spearow. Spearow wouldn't be as stubborn as Pikachu was. So as Ash commences his journey and encounters several Pokemon, Spearow wouldn't hesitate to obey its trainer and catch them all, from grass types to flying types and even a few water Pokemon. Ash would then learn to train and comprehend his Pokemon's abilities until he achieves a deeper understanding. Eventually, Ash would still encounter Misty while she is fishing, but this time, he would create a better first impression. Instead of stealing her bike, he would challenge her to a Pokemon battle. With the help of Spearow, Ash would easily defeat all of Misty's Pokemon, upsetting Misty and giving her no reason to follow Ash on his journey. That wouldn't stop Ash from reaching Viridian City and showcasing his Pokemon. He would then rest for the night and battle several more trainers the next day before leaving the city. But these battles would lead to a delay that would eventually lead to a Team Rocket attack. However, due to Ash's increased strength and help from Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny, Ash would thwart Team Rocket's plans, leading to their capture and arrest. For this, the young trainer would gain recognition through interviews, and as his ego grows, so would his skill with Pokemon. While Ash had a pure heart initially, it would slowly start to become tainted with ego. So Ash would continue to the league with more knowledge about type advantages, particularly the strength of fighting types against rock types. Ash would also get a tip-off that the Pewter City Gym would be easy for him. So as he approaches Pewter City with a stronger team, Ash would train and capture new Pokemon without fear or hesitation, overcome challenges easily, and amass almost 30 more Pokemon. With Spearow, he would have time to understand the basics before serious situations arise, learning early on what it means to be a trainer, thus preventing similar inexperienced situations like he faced in the original timeline he got Pikachu. This means with Spearow as his starter Pokemon, Ash would eventually be the very best, except he would be so proud. But I don't think he would be so proud or the very best if his starter Pokemon was Caterpie. To get Caterpie, Ash would have to be late and ruin his chance at getting a Pokemon from Professor Oak, so he would run to the forest to catch a Pokemon himself, because of course that's what he would have done. Can you imagine him actually giving up on his dream of becoming a Pokemon master because he woke up late? My mans can't take no for an answer. Know who else can't take no for an answer? Me! And the question I am asking is, will you subscribe to my channel? Do subscribe, or I will catch you with my Pokeball, just like Ash would catch Caterpie. And after catching Caterpie, Ash would use it on Brock and win on a technicality like he always does. Then Ash would capture other Pokemon along the way until his Caterpie evolves to Butterfree. Butterfree being Ash's starter Pokemon wouldn't change the fact that Ash will trade the Pokemon for Raticate. So he would first make it battle in a fight it has no chance of winning, and then trade it for Eradicate. He would eventually ask for Butterfree back, but Butterfree would decide that Ash isn't worth it and even fall in love with a wild pink Butterfree. So Ash would live out the rest of his Pokemon journey without his starter Pokemon, eventually causing him to be the very worst. But I think Ash would have a higher chance at being the very best if he'd gotten Bulbasaur. For Ash to get Bulbasaur, Ash would have to wake up on time and choose Bulbasaur, who he dreamt of the night before. Unlike Pikachu, Bulbasaur would obey him right from the start, leading to a big change in Ash's journey. On his journey, Ash would capture a lot of Pokemon and immediately proceed to challenge Brock. Ash would defeat Brock easily with his grass Pokemon, learning typing much sooner and becoming a more proficient trainer quickly. In this alternate reality, Brock wouldn't join Ash, and neither would Misty. The minor plot adventures that occur in the original journey would still happen, but instead of being convoluted lessons, they contribute positively to Ash's growth. Arriving in Cerulean City, Ash would earn the Cascade Badge after defeating Misty, Starmie, and Staryu. This success would prompt Bulbasaur to evolve due to the gained experience. Gym battles would now be easier for Ash, given his well-trained team. He'd still use the same team he used in the original storyline. He'd train and evolve them properly. Without Brock and Misty by his side, Ash would continue with several Pokemon, eventually encountering the group of Pikachu in the woods. Here, he'd capture a different Pikachu, while still maintaining a similar team composition as he did in the original journey. But what if when he was on time for his starter Pokemon ceremony, he chose Squirtle over Bulbasaur? Having a water starter would sure help Ash go against a lot of gym leaders. After choosing Squirtle, the team would embark on a journey towards Viridian City, where they'd encounter the first wild Pokemon, a Pidgey. Excited but clueless about capturing Pokemon, Ash would learn the need to weaken Pokemon before catching them. With Squirtle's help, Ash would capture a few more Pokemon like Rattata and Spearow before reaching Viridian City. Because he now captures Spearow without any hassle, he wouldn't come in contact with Misty. At Viridian City, Ash would meet Officer Ginny, who heals his Pokemon at the Poke Center and briefs him about the Pokemon League. Without wasting much time, he then set out to explore the Viridian Forest early, which means he wouldn't encounter Team Rocket, making his journey more peaceful. While in the Viridian Forest, Ash would catch more Pokemon and have his first battle against the Samurai Trainer. With no distractions from Team Rocket, Misty, or Brock, he has a chance to learn more about Pokemon. Upon reaching Pewter City alone, Ash would learn about gym badges and eagerly challenge the Pewter City gym leader, Brock. At first, Ash would struggle with type disadvantages and overconfidence, pitting his Pidgey against Brock's Geodude before he'd switch to Squirtle, which wins against Geodude, but struggles against Onix. Squirtle would then evolve into War Turtle during the battle and manage to defeat Onix, helping Ash win his first gym badge fairly. Ash then continues his journey to the next city, having secured his first badge from Pewter City Gym. Man, if Ash got Squirtle instead of Bulbasaur, he would catch more Pokemon, travel without his usual companions, and won't have to deal with the constant presence of the Team Rocket trio tailing him. So what thing could stop my mans from being a legendary Pokemon trainer? See, the thought of Ash never getting Pikachu breaks my heart, but I think getting Charmander would have charmed my heart even more. If Ash got Charmander, he would have probably gotten a stronger Charizard and had a deep bond with it. At the same time, this means Ash would never meet and keep the other Charmander in his team. Ash's Charmander would eventually evolve into Charizard. That would be his most loyal Pokemon. All of this means Ash would win the Kanto League, as it would get really personal in Ash's fight against Gary. Or should I say Charizard versus Blastoise? All of this means Ash would destroy everything in front of him in the first couple episodes of every Pokemon season. But this destruction is nothing compared to what Ash would do if he got Mewtwo. For Ash to get Mewtwo, Ash would have to be scolded by Professor Oak for being late. Oak would not give him anything, not even 6 Pokeballs or a Pokédex. Devastated, Ash would run back home and cry himself to stupor. Days would pass, and Ash would still be pained by what happened. So slowly and painfully, Ash's pure heart would give in to evil thoughts. He'd eventually get fed up with his boring life and living with his mother, so he'd head out into the wild. He'd be journeying with nothing but anger and pain in his heart until he'd come in contact with Mewtwo, who has just finished destroying the lab it was created. Instantly, they'd bond and become partners. Of course, it's Mewtwo, so Ash would not even need to capture it in a Pokeball to earn its loyalty. This partnership becomes toxic, and not long after, Ash would use Mewtwo to wreak havoc on the entire Pokemon world. So the story of Pokemon would turn out to be one where everyone is on a mission to take down Ash Ketchum and his evil Pokemon. That is mind-boggling. But do you know what boggles my mind even more? This theory that states Ash was destined to get Pikachu. Hear me out. This theory speculates that Professor Oak planned to give Ash this Pikachu from the very beginning. Riddle me this. Why would a sound professor, known throughout the Pokemon world for his research in Pokemon, just have a stubborn Pikachu stored in a secret compartment in his lab? You see, in the movie Forever Celebi, Voice of the Forest, a time travel event occurs that has young Professor Oak from the past sent to Ash's timeline where he meets and bonds with Ash. Could it be that this meeting and bonding is where Professor Oak had the idea of giving Ash a Pikachu? Is this why Professor Oak had the same stubborn Pokemon he saw in the future in a secret compartment in his lab? Is this also why Team Rocket constantly assumes that Pikachu is no mere coincidence in itself? The more I think of this theory, the more I see that Ash was not late for his starter Pokemon ceremony. He was right on time. From these NPCs to monsters disguised as Pokemon. These are 38 Easter eggs you missed in Pokemon. And we gotta start with the time Meowth predicted the future. You see, way back in 1998, in the 66th episode, The Evolution Solution, Meowth said to Jesse and James,
Keep digging till you hit China.
fast forward to 2015, and China banned harvesting of giant clams because it is one of the most endangered clam species. You have to understand that these giant clams are so unique, they weigh 440 pounds and can live for up to 100 years. Way to go, Team Rocket! You not only warned the world of the endangerment of giant clams, but also the fact that China would try to save the clams. And that's not all Team Rocket has done. They have also successfully hid the secret meaning of their name for years. Did you know the Rocket in Team Rocket doesn't stand for no spaceship? It stands for Raid on City, knock out evil tusks. Yeah, I don't know why they would name themselves that or why they would hide that from you, but at least you know why they raid on cities and try to knock stuff out. Don't you dare ask me what the evil tusk in Team Rocket's name mean. I'm as confused as you are. But I know that this was an Easter egg that was right in front of your eyes the whole time. But before I get into that, did you know this Pokemon game stole from the anime? Yup, in Pokemon Home, there is a challenge that involves the player withdrawing or releasing a Butterfree. Did you know that this was referencing an episode? And it was none other than one of the Pokemon's saddest episodes, Bye Bye Butterfree. But it wasn't as sad as episode 11, The Stray Pokemon. This episode was so sad. It was the first episode that mentioned that Pokemon are capable of death.
If its tail flame goes out, it'll die.
And the sneakiest Easter egg in this episode, and maybe in this video, is this Easter egg. In this scene, Damien is shown to be carrying around 20 Pokeballs, all allegedly containing Pokemon. Yo, that's illegal. A trainer can only carry 6 Pokemon at a time in their party. So, why was Damien carrying 20? You see, Damien wasn't shown to have a Pokédex. Therefore, he was not forced to use the storage system. Either that, or my man needs to be punished by singing 1,000 happy birthday songs for Nurse Joy. Because the day the episode aired in the US, which is the 22nd of September in 1998, was the 30th birthday of Megan Hollingshead, the voice actress of Nurse Joy. If you think these Easter eggs I have disclosed so far are sneaky, just wait, because these next 34 Easter eggs get even better. Take for instance that time George of the Jungle was snuck into the anime. Yup, in episode 39, Pikachu's Goodbye, when Ash crashes into a tree, Misty says,
Ash, look out, that tree!
This wasn't any ordinary phrase. It was a sweet, sweet reference to George of the Jungle. And Ash wasn't no George of the Jungle. But you know who might have been? Team Rocket! Because instead of breaking their nose like George, they broke the fourth wall. And I didn't even know it until I watched this episode over and over. You see, after Team Rocket finishes their motto, James says,
We'd like to thank all of our fans for their loyalty and support. This victory is for them.
I was wondering what fans they were talking about until it dawned on me. I'm the fan. You're the fan. James did not only break the fourth wall, he indirectly thanked Pokemon fans in Japan who helped get the anime back on air after that episode that sent 1,000 kids to the ICU. George of the Jungle could never. But you know what he could do? He could maybe identify the gender of a Pikachu in the wild. I couldn't even do that because the producers of this show hid the distinction in a little detail, which is in the tail. You see, the male Pikachus have a standard lightning-shaped tail, while the females have a little dent in the top, making it look heart-shaped. This makes Ash's Pikachu a male Pokemon that is capable of filling an entire stadium with lightning. Pause. Did you hear that? That sounds like the same sound effect from Back to the Future when the DeLorean travels through time. Hold on a sec. Let me play the sound effect of the DeLorean. No way! It's the same! And that's not even the only real-life thing that was snuck into the anime. You too can get snuck into the anime. I will sneak you into the Pokemon world and have Snorlax eat you alive if you don't subscribe to my channel! See, I'm sure you must know that Rhyme City is the main setting of the Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Well, did you know that it is based on London? Not only is it based in London, but it's also partially filmed there. This hidden detail is probably also a nod to the fact that London is the setting for the Sherlock Holmes story, which was the inspiration for the concept of the Pokemon movie. And if that wasn't enough, Detective Pikachu wore Sherlock's hat. This cap is a deerstalker, and it's the same hat that Sherlock Holmes is often seen wearing. London is a nice place to be based on. So what about a Pokemon that is based on a monster? Frostlass is based on the Japanese legend of a scary vampire snowfall witch. Goes by the name of Yuki Onna. Frostlass isn't the only one. Lotad, who, although is so cute, is based on a Japanese water monster called a kappa that has a water-filled dish on its head and a turtle-like beak, which holds water on its head. While some Pokemon are being sneakily modeled after monsters, some are just modeled after a real-world location. Did you know Articuno, Beartic, Arctozolt, and Arctovicious names are derived from the Arctic? See? Articuno? Be-Arctic? So obvious. But Mewtwo looking at New York City wasn't an obvious Easter egg. At the end of Mewtwo Returns, Mewtwo is shown overlooking a faraway city that greatly resembles New York City. If you pay attention to the buildings in the distance, you will see the Chrysler Building and the MetLife Building. If you also pay attention, you'll come to find out that Kanto doesn't only exist in the Pokemon world, it also does in the real world. In fact, it exists in Pokemon because it exists in the real world first. In Japanese, Kanto means east of the barrier. It is a region of Honshu, the biggest island in Japan, and it's where Tokyo is located, among other cities. Kanto is just another real-life location they snuck into the anime. Another one is Saffron City. Did you know Saffron City is based on Tokyo? Did you also know that Paldea kinda draws inspiration primarily from the culture of Spain? Sneaking Spain into the anime was just another Easter egg that blew my mind. It was uncanny. The music, the Pokemon names, and even the occasional use of the Spanish language by the locals of Paldea. Stay with me because we are moving up our ladder to ultra-rare Easter eggs. Listen, locations in Pokemon are not the only things that have been snuck into the anime. Even cars have been too. In episode 14 of the XY series, Seeking Shelter from the Storm, we see Elise in a room full of toys, but the one that stood out was the Volkswagen new Beetle toy. This was so subtle, I almost missed it. Now, let me give you an Easter egg that happened in the Japanese versions of the miniseries, Pokemon Origins. See, when Red received his Charmander, he wanted to nickname it Sepultura, and that didn't make any sense to me, because Sepultura means either grave or burial in Spanish. What I didn't know was that this was actually a reference to the fact that a Charmander with the nickname Sepultura appears on a screenshot featured on the back of a box for the Japanese releases of Pokemon Red. The name even came up in the game. The Sepultura reference was cool, but an even cooler one might be this reference to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. While I was watching the 16th episode of the Sun and Moon series, I caught Team Rocket reacting in a very familiar and extreme way. Just take a look at this expression on their face. Isn't it similar to the over-the-top reaction shots from the JoJo Bizarre Adventure series? I think yes. Seems not even Pokemon can escape a JoJo reference. In the 57th episode of the XY series, I caught Meowth posing like Jonathan Joestar and Jotaro Kujo, and while striking this pose, he even mimics Dio's battle cry, shouting, Man, everything is a JoJo reference. But as far as references go, one worth noting is this Easter egg referencing the influential boxing anime Ashita Nojo. In episode 29 of Indigo League, the punchy Pokemon, when Ash is preparing Pikachu to fight Hitmonchan, the Japanese version has him tell Pikachu to follow the first for the sake of tomorrow strategy. This is the name of a boxing lesson from Ashita Nojo that focuses on the jab. It's funny that Ash had to use moves from another anime to teach Pikachu, who was practically going against Jackie Chan. And while Hitmonchan is Jackie Chan, its trainer in the same episode 29 is an even more badass martial artist. This is Inoki, and he is a clear reference to the legendary Japanese wrestler and politician Antonio Inoki. Their names, chin, and even this red scarf says it all. Dare I forget this belt too? See, in the same episode, Antonio's original International Wrestling Grand Prix IWGP belt was snuck into the anime. In the real world, the first person to hold this belt was Antonio Inoki. Inoki. Take a look at the belt given to the winner of the Pokemon 1 Grand Prix. Uncanny. Did you know an NFL club has also been referenced in the anime? Boy, oh boy, these Easter eggs are getting me excited. In the first movie, there is a scene where Brock says,
I didn't know Vikings still existed.
And Ash replies with,
They mostly live in Minnesota.
they were talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Damn. Also, did you know that Shakespeare has been referenced? The plot of the episode Wherefore Art Thou is based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Even the English dub title is a reference to a well-known line in the play, Wherefore Art Thou Romeo? The Nidorans are named Tony and Maria as a reference to the musical West Side Story, which is also based on Romeo and Juliet. Speaking of lovers, let's talk about Jesse and James from Team Rocket. As it turns out, Americans know Team Rocket as Rocket Gang. This makes Team Rocket a direct reference to the Dorambo Gang from Yatterman anime. Just see, Doranjo is Jesse, Boyaki is James, and even Tanzura is dressed like a cat, referencing Meowth. That was it for the ultra rare. Now let's talk about the legendary Easter eggs, which are damn near impossible to spot. Speaking of the impossible, did you know Ash once turned into one of the best hitmen in anime history? In the 61st episode of the Sun and Moon series, when Ash encounters Buzzwole, there is a part of his face that briefly rumples into a hilariously serious and angular look. I traced this serious expression to its origin and found out that this is exactly like the face of Golgo 13. Another Easter egg came in the episode where Ash, Brock, and Misty's Pokemon made a movie. Brock said his favorite movie from the director is I Saw What You Ate Last Tuesday. That just sounds like his favorite movie is I Know What You Did Last Summer. In the episode The Battle of the Badge, we get a look at Giovanni's office. At first, it seems pretty boring, but if you pay close attention to the background, you will be able to see an Easter egg from the Pokemon Red and Blue game. It is an image that matches Mewtwo's sprite from the game. If you also pay close attention while watching the 105th episode, you'll catch a sneaky Easter egg in the scene where Ash's Pikachu and Miete's Slurpuff are choosing out accessories. If you look at the desk behind them, you can see something pretty interesting. It's the same pair of glasses worn by Ash's Squirtle when it was still a part of the Squirtle Squad. And why does Squirtle wear sunglasses? Have you ever wondered? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that its number on the Pokédex is 007. 007, huh? That's a number that's now associated with being the spy, James Bond. And what are spies known for if not their obvious sunshades? Speaking of spies, I caught a game character spying in the anime. In the very beginning of the episode, the firing squad, while observing the background, I saw a character that looks like Red wearing a Kalos region cap. This looks like the male avatar character in the Fire Red and Leaf Green game. And while this NPC appeared only once, these NPCs have appeared so much they have almost become main characters. NPCs are supposed to appear once, but when it happens more than 3 times, it is not a mere coincidence anymore. By that point, it is clearly intentional, which is the case with these ladies referred to as mother and daughter. While no one knows the reason behind their reappearance, many speculate that this is a reference to the voice actress of Pikachu and her first daughter. The people who speculate this believe the anime director decided to immortalize the actress in the anime because they were so close. Call me crazy, but I think this is Ash's wife and daughter from the future who somehow traveled back in time and got stuck there. That would be creepy, but not as creepy as what happened at the Poke Center in Lavender Town in Pokemon Origins. While Red is at the Poke Center talking about ghosts, a woman tells him there's a white hand behind his shoulder. He looks, then looks back at her, but she's gone. If you look closely, you can actually see a white hand. Don't be afraid. This wasn't meant to scare you. It is just a reference to an NPC chat that happened in the old Pokemon games in Lavender Town. This white hand did not scare me as much as this character from the Black and White series. I'm talking about Leon. What I didn't know was that Leon is a walking Easter egg. You see, Leon looks a lot like Iyami from Osomatsu-kun. He acts like Iyami and even talks in French, but only in the Japanese version. Just look at those teeth. There is no denying it. Also, in episode 86 of Pokemon, Ruby and Sapphire, we get to see a Godzilla-like movie parody featuring a giant Meowth. As the gigantic Meowth destroys all the Pokemon-piloted fighter jets, one escapes and transforms into a giant Marshtomp. This Marshtomp's transformation sequence is a clear tip of the hat to the Ultraman series. If this video blew your mind, you shouldn't watch this one about Ash dying 6 times in Pokemon. It's even crazier!